Doggies, obviously the first grand final participant we'll be covering here. To make the grand final from fifth on the ladder is a pretty good achievement, but not really the biggest surprise given how great they were during the regular year. Rowie, what did you make of the Doggies season?
Yeah, it was given last year. They obviously had a huge amount of talent, especially in that midfield, but to fall short to the mighty Saints was disappointing. But we knew that they were going to be more hungry this year, given more games in Melbourne and just given the heartbreak of losing in the finals, especially in a close game that always hurts. So it was no surprise that they came out and really took the competition by storm. Obviously, the resurgence of Josh Bruce up forward helped for the majority of the year, and just the midfield we all thought is just they got too many players. Where's everyone to play? But no, I think it showed to be as versatile as it needed to be, and then players coming out and improving like they did, like Bailey Dale, for example, of halfback. Who would have thought that 12 months ago you'd be saying Bailey Dale's an All Australian halfback? Obviously, those little factors all combined and chipped in. Obviously, they finished fifth, which given their slow end to the season, but the fact that they're making another grand final from outside the top four is huge for them. So for that reason, I'm going to give them a 9.5 rating. I know it was pretty harsh not to give them a 10, but I just think I think most of us predicted them to be top eight. And they actually did finish fifth, probably roughly where lots of us had them. And they didn't come out of the top eight or anything. So I'll give them outside of the top eight. Sorry, I'll give them a 9.5. MVP to the Bont. Obviously, just finished second in the Brownlow the other night. We'll see if he's got arguably a better medal around his neck though tomorrow night. Best young player, I'll give it to Cody Waitman. Obviously, he's got his fair share of fans and haters, but no, I love him. Obviously, a Bloods boy. I'm sure all of us do, but obviously can't wait to see him play tomorrow night. Hopefully sit on a few heads, and there's a huge target for them up forward. And most improved, got to be Bailey Dale, like I mentioned before, off that half back. He's got one of the best kicks in the competition. So, yeah, can't wait to watch him tomorrow night and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely a huge year. I'm actually going to give them a 9. Probably harsh for a team that could potentially be the premiers, but I feel like they've actually underperformed the last few seasons. So, the fact that they were a premiership contender wasn't really it was a very good effort to bounce back from where they were, but I don't think it was outrageous. Where I think the fact that Melbourne were premiership contenders was more outrageous. So, yeah, I'll give them a 9 regardless of if they win. A very good year though. Yeah, MVP the Bont. Best young player, obviously, we've gone a bit older, so the Baslenka, and most improved. I've actually given it to Libba, obviously very high in my voting thing. Most clearances in the whole AFL and across the regular season. If you told me that at the start of the year, would have bitten your hand off, because that would have just been an outrageous call. And also the fact that he gets tagged in a midfield with Bont, McRae, Treloar, Dunkley, all those blokes, just shows how much of an impact he has when he's, allowed to do his own thing. So, I think he's sort of I think he was genuinely stiff not to make the All-Australian team this year. I think he was that good, but sort of just got unfairly treated due to the fact that he's seen as a bit of a third wheel to McRae and Bont, which is fair enough because they are elite players. So, yeah, huge year from Libba. And yeah, as I mentioned, 9 out of 10. Love Cody. Might talk about him later for one of my predictions for the final. Pilch, what did you make of the Dogs?
Very good. As you said, they've underperformed. The last 5 years, they've had this insane list, particularly midfield, and they've just hovered around that 7 to 10 mark. And then I think this year they just finally sorted out their consistency, because they've always had the ability to beat the good teams, but they've also lost some pretty average games, and they sorted that out this year, got themselves into a granny. So for that, I am going to give them a 10 out of 10, because I don't think you could have asked for much more as a Dogs fan. And then Bontempelli MVP, clearly. Aaron Norton, clearly young player for me over Smith. I think he's one of their most valuable players. If you take him out of the equation, I think their forward line goes to shit. And most improved, Bailey Dale.
Yep, Dale had an absolute blinder. Going to be interesting to see what happens, because they've got quite a few talented players in their Magoos that surely get ripped apart by the other team's scouts who come pecking, but we'll see what happens there.
It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that? chairs. Here's Siddle.